All right, welcome to Mr. O'Byrne and Miss Lasov's class to our YouTube channel. I am working on a setup, so it might get a little shaky at times, but this is just going to be a foundation of maps. And so this week we're kind of looking at maps and what makes up maps, what can we find on them. So there's some special things about maps that will help you understand how to read them, because it sounds weird. How can you read a picture? But maps are a little challenging sometimes. And if you look at a map of maybe your community, you might be familiar because you know where things are, you've walked past them. But if you look at a map of Ireland, or if you look at a map of Russia or wherever else, it might be a little more challenging. So what is a map? A map is a drawing of lands or oceans that show where places are located. Really, it's a picture, or it's an object that we look at to help us make sense of our surroundings. What are we going to find around us? Where can I find water? Oh, look at that mountain over there. I wonder if it has a name or anything like that. So maps help us out with that. Now, there's a couple different types of maps, and one of the ones that you guys are probably familiar with is a globe. Even though maps are usually flat and you can read them laying out on a table or something like that, globes are also maps because it is a model, or it is a map of the entire planet Earth. And so when you look at a globe, you're actually looking at a map. It just looks a little bit different from maybe like a piece of paper like this. It would just be sitting here. So it is also a map. So what are some of the things that we find on a map? Well, there's locations. And location just means, it's the place where something is. If I'm pointing to here and it's like, oh, look at this location, I wonder what's right here. Location is just where you're finding something, where something is. So if I said, what is the location of Stoddard and Glover Park? If we were looking at a map, I would say, oh, this location right here. I would point to its exact spot, or the exact place where Stoddard is on a Glover Park map. Some bigger maps, like maybe of the United States, or possibly Mexico, which we read in our ELA reading, is you might find some states, and it's an area of land with an organized group of people and laws. So here in the United States, we have 50 states. And in Mexico, there are states, and so it's just a chunk of land. So, the United States of America has been broken up into all these different chunks of lands called states over time, and we really started with the original 13 colonies, and we've grown into this giant United States of America. On a bigger map, maybe of the entire world, you're going to look at a continent. And remember, we talked about continents in our landform unit, but continents are one of the 7 main parts of land on the earth. So there are 7 giant chunks. Now there's more than that, but the biggest pieces of land on earth are these 7 continents: North America, South America, Antarctica, Africa, Egypt, Asia, and Australia is another one. And so those are the big 7 continents where a lot of the countries that make up our globe, or our Earth, are located. You can find landforms. It's just a special type of land with a special shape or a special feature. Remember how they look or how they appear, different colors. And so landforms are found on maps. You might find mountains or hills or rivers or oceans or anything like that. You might find countries like we talked about. And so those are all the things that you're going to find on a map. Now, how do we talk about a map? Like if I said, okay, here on this map, you're going to go up 4 lengths and to the right 4 lengths, well, on a map, there's something that we use which is called a compass rose. And a compass rose is a tool that shows the directions on a map. So when you're looking at a map, we use 4 main directions. We say, oh, that is north, that is east, that is south, and that is west. So north and south go up like a column. North and south are up and down. And then east and west are like a row. It is side to side. And when you're looking at a flat map, you can usually say, okay, you're going to go north, you're going to go south. But if you have a compass, like if you guys were to get on a phone and you look at a compass, it's going to be going to all these different ways. North isn't always up. North can be to the side. And that's for another lesson on another time. But for what we're doing and our purposes, north and south, north is up, south is down, east and then west is this way. And so maps usually have a compass rose on there that will tell us those cardinal directions or those directions that we should go on a map. Here's one that I made really quickly. So like I said, we have the 4. Never eat soggy waffles. I say never eat soggy Wheaties, but those are what I was taught. That's what I was taught to help me remember the 4 directions. Now you see these black lines in the middle. What if I was on a map and there was an object or a location in the middle of north and east? Well, we call that a little bit of both. We say northeast. That is northeast. So if you find something, or if you're walking in the direction or following a map, you're going to say, if it's in between two directions, you're going to use both of them. Oh, that is northeast, or that is southeast. You won't say east, south. You always say the main direction. So you'll either say southeast or northeast, southwest or northwest. And so you'll start with these 2. North and south are the main ones. East and west are also those 4. Now, we know what a cardinal direction is. We know that the compass rose of the compass is going to tell us what way is north and what way is east, south, and west. Another, I think one of the most important things on a good map is what's called a map key. And a map key is a legend on a map that tells you what the symbols stand for. If you see a random symbol on a map, that's just this. Without a map key, you're going to sit there and say, okay, well, I guess that could be a river. I guess that could be a mountain, or it could just be a scribble. Maybe there's a scribble on the wall somewhere. But a map key is going to, it's a legend on a map that tells you what the symbols are for. So on the map key, maybe that's on the map. And then over here on the side, on the map, and Miss LaSave, Mr. O'Byrne's class, my handwriting is not very good, so we just roll with it. If you saw this, and that is a pond, with the map key, that helps us out, because now we know that this scribble that we thought was a mountain or a river or something like that is actually a pond. And the only way that we're going to know that is if we go to the legend or the map key over here and try to figure out, okay, well, what does that symbol mean, and how can I use that to help me get to the right place on the map, or figure out where I need to go on the map. So that map key is really important. It's basically a cheat sheet for all the symbols on a map. Here's an example. So here's a bedroom. And, you know, we might be able to sit here and say, okay, well, I can already find out what all this, but look at this one, the map key. If we go down, we can see that this shape right here is the bed. So we know that, boom, there's the bed right there. It's on the west part of the map. This looks like an Easter egg to me, but it is actually the rug. So we know that's like right in the middle. The desk is right here. Bed tables on each side. But how are we going to know if this is toys right here? And there's actually 2 different symbols for toys. And so how, you know, it's kind of hard. So this is actually a toy box, and this is a toy box right here. And we wouldn't know without this. If I just said this and, all right, find me, there are 2 toy boxes here, find me them. Some of you might say, okay, well, there's a toy box right there. There's a toy box right, oh. But with the map key, it tells us exactly what each symbol is. The last thing's a little confusing, and I need you guys to stick with me on this one, because it's called a map scale. Now, what a scale does is a scale is going to help us determine how far things are. Right now, my finger could go across this entire zoo. In real life, my finger couldn't even reach the snake's cage, or it might not even go onto the map at all. So the way that we make sense of these shrunken down big maps or pictures of a certain location or a certain country or continent is we use what's called a scale. So if you have a ruler at home, the scale that they're using here is for every inch on your ruler, that's 100 meters. So for every inch, that's equal to 100 meters. And what a scale does is it says, okay, well, if it's 5 inches from the tiger exhibit to the elephant exhibit, that's not 5 inches. 5 inches is not very long. I mean, it's not long at all. But 500 meters gives you an idea of how far it is. If I showed you a map of the United States right now, you might be able to put your hand down and go from Texas all the way up to Minnesota. But I can promise you that if you were to drive that, that would be like 15 hours or maybe even 20 hours to get there. And so we have to use a scale to help us say, okay, well, this little tiny measurement is actually worth 1,000 or 100 miles. So for every inch on a ruler, if you're driving from Texas to Minnesota, every inch is 100 miles. So if it's 12 inches to from Texas to Minnesota, then it is 1,200 miles. It's not only 12 inches, it's 1,200. So the scale gives us an idea of actually how far it is. This isn't a good representation of this zoo. This zoo is probably just as big as the DC Zoo. And so think about walking from one exhibit to the other. It's not a just quick stroll over. We would say, okay, from the monkey exhibit to the tiger exhibit, it might be 400 meters, which is going to take a lot longer. And then a couple other maps that I found online. Now, these don't have a map key, but I like these maps because it's familiar to us. We know kind of what these are. I wish that they would give us a key, because this right here, I had to look at it a little bit farther. You need a little bit closer. But that's like a flamingo exhibit, a hippo exhibit. Now, it does label it, so that's good. If it doesn't have a map key, the author or the creator of the map has got to make sure that they give those good labels, that text feature we talked about this year. But, you know, there's some questions here. So when you enter the park, what street are you on? Now, we have to look at the entire map. We can't say, oh, you're on Penguin Street, because if you're looking at that map closely, oh, okay, right here. Now we look to the east and the west, side to side. Oh, you're on Stripes Street when you come into the zoo. Now look at that compass rose. It's going to help us. So if I said, if you were at the zebra exhibit down here, what direction would you have to take to get to the penguins? So I'm going to give you a second to look at that. And if you're watching this with a family member or a guardian or whoever, try to tell them where you would go. And I'll tell you what I'm thinking here in a couple seconds. So we're going from the zebra all the way up here. Remember, north is up, east to the right, south we're going to go down. So probably not going to go south. So it's either north, east, west, or remember, if it's in between, then you can say northeast or southeast, southwest, northwest. So since the video is getting a little long, I'm going to go ahead and tell you where I would go. I would start at the zebra exhibit. I would go west, because I've got to get out of there. I can't walk into this bar right here. You have to kind of think about that as like as a fence or something like that. So I would first go west so I can get out of there. Remember, west is to the left, this way. Then I'm going to head up north, and then I could go either way. West is a little bit longer, but if I go back down to my compass rose, okay, now I need to head east. Oh, I'm to another fence. North, west, north. So I would head, you know, if there were no fences here, I would just go straight north. I would just walk all the way up, but then I'm going to get scared by this snake going through. So I would have to go west, and then north, and then west again, and then boom, north. I would go up there. So the main things, the main takeaways are just to remember are the compass rose, never eat soggy waffles, or north, east, south, west. That will help you with a map, thinking about what direction am I going. Tomorrow's quiz, you'll need to have a compass rose ready to go. You can make a very quick one, just drawing one line this way and one line this way, and then labeling it. And then that other thing that's really important that this map does not have, and this map also does not have here, is a map key. And remember, map keys just tell us what the symbols stand for. So I hope that this helps. I hope that you were able to get a sense of kind of maps, and if you already knew this, then that's okay. It's a good refresher. And tomorrow we will look at a map of the United States, and you will need a penny for tomorrow's quiz, because you're going to use a penny as your scale. And I'm going to say, okay, your penny should be on top of Texas. Go 2 pennies to the east and 3 pennies to the north, and then tell me what state you're on. So we'll just do a kind of a fun thing tomorrow where to try to help out with, do I know my directions and am I ready to create my own map at the end of this week. So hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great afternoon, and campers, I will talk to you tomorrow on our class Zoom. Bye guys.